You know, I have the utmost respect for vloggers who can do this on the fly, because I'll be lying to you if I said there weren't notes on my screen right now. You know, one of my New Year's resolutions was actually like, you know, to better my confidence. That's by doing these kinds of videos, and of course you don't come to the internet looking for confidence. I just wanted to start the year off by saying a massive thank you for all your support over the last couple of months. It has been very heartwarming and even more so revitalizing to know that people like this kind of stuff. So I hope Christmas treated you well. My best films of 2017 will be up next week, and the main show will be starting back on the 18th of January, or sooner if you're a Patreon, you know, nudge nudge, wink wink, all that bullshit. We'll be starting a podcast as well, so if you want to be involved in that, please follow me on Twitter, because I will be looking for questions. And on that witty segue into questions, oh haha, am I hilarious. What mic and editing software do you use? I use a cheap toner condenser mic. I just recently bought a Rode NT-USB. In fact, why aren't I using it? I've actually never used it before. We're like, oh, we should blast it out, Casey Neistat style, you know, but you know, without over sexualizing the technology, of course. Isn't it amazing that we live in the age of the jump cut? Because if we didn't, wouldn't every YouTube video just be kind of shit? The reality is, I will never find a microphone that will suit my car crash voice. What J-horror do you believe perfectly encapsulates the genre? I'm not too familiar with J-horrors, but Ju-on I think encapsulates the simplicity of it. But you could say Ring and Dark Water are also good examples, but I think it's a little disingenuous to say that because they're the best known in Western culture. But films aside, you know, Junji Ito is pretty messed up. What video are you most proud of? 28 Days Later and the Lewis Through videos are by far my favorite. Most overrated, underrated movies in your opinion. Overrated is like a mega trigger word. Snowpiercer is the one I always go to. I find it patronizing, contrived, and convoluted. Underrated, if we're not being pedantic about it, Dog Soldiers. Critically well received, but you know, low budget British movies are totally overlooked internationally. What's a film you've tried too hard to love due to constant recommendations but ultimately can't bring yourself to enjoy? Arrival is the recent one that comes to mind, and it's always going to be the one that'll probably stick to me for a while because admittedly I was so bored that I fell asleep during a very small fragment of the film, and I think that obviously is going to skew my inevitable judgment, but I get why people like it, but that does not equate to me having to enjoy it as well, because we are not robots, we are humans, we all function, think, and feel differently. What is your favorite movies and your most disliked ones? Can you recommend any other YouTube channels that you enjoy watching? I will put a link to them in the description because otherwise we'll be here forever, and for my favorite films, I will tell folks them in due course, but for most disliked, usually anything mean-spirited or condescending is my off-putter, but Skyline is always the one I jump to first because it gave me brain damage, and it's one of the only times I've ever wanted to walk out of a movie, but like, I mean, I paid for the ticket, so I'm too stubborn to walk out. What is the process for deciding the video topic? What is your favorite TV shows that are currently still on the air? I just usually pick things I'm genuinely interested in. I'm not going to pick something that I have absolutely no passion for. In terms of TV, I don't get a lot of time to watch stuff. Silicon Valley, Veep. I like Glow, it's on Netflix, but that's mostly because I'm a Mark Maron fan. Vice Principals just finished, and I still have some dwindling hope for Better Call Saul. If YouTube didn't exist, what would you be doing now? I don't care to admit it, but I'd probably be more focused. You know, people seem to think this is my job. It's not. But you could change that. Black Mirror Season 4 thoughts? Mirror. In Northern Ireland, I find mirror to be the hardest word to say. Mirror, because mirror sounds like nonsense, and mirror sounds way too American. Anyway, I didn't really like this season. I find the first and last episodes to be the best, but I think everything in between I find kind of repetitive and even derivative of previous seasons. That said, I quite like Metalhead for its simplicity. I kind of like this idea of just a simple 30-minute post-apocalyptic Terminator-esque short film. What the fuck? What's the worst and best thing about being a... Try that again. What's the worst and best thing about being a YouTube media analyst? Oh, media analyst. That makes me sound more credible. As a creator, people seeing my work is the best feeling ever. As a creator, people seeing my work leads to some of the most discouraging, disparaging, and insensitive comments I have ever read. What do you think is the biggest issue with modern day cinema? Now we're getting into the gritty questions. I tweeted this before, but I think it's fandom, actually. I'm a fan, but I do not support fandom. I think the premise is idealistic, but as we even seen at the end of 2017 there with Star Wars, it's basically become a smokescreen for cynicism and self-entitlement. You know, movies are made for audiences, not specifically for you. Get over yourself. Is there any movies, shows that inspired you to start this channel? Anything you watched that really made you want to delve deeper into analysis? I always inherently drifted towards analysis because I studied and work in design and media production. It wasn't one of those moments of, oh, I discovered what subtext is and now everything is meaningful. I watched a lot of Louis Theroux and Darren Brown documentaries, which I think inspired this whole fascination around trying to uncover layers behind something that's treated at face value by most people. You recently tweeted about cinematography needing to be about story and not just pretty images. Are there any films you feel have a strong grasp of this concept and are not getting spoken about enough? Danny Cohen's work comes to mind. He does a lot of period dramas, so Les Mis is a jarring and quite frankly very ugly looking film. But I worked on a production of Les Mis a few years ago, and what was key to that production was that the stage direction is pretty much as claustrophobic and as isolating as possible. And when we as an audience are watching theater, we are literally spectators, so we are distant from that action. So in that film, them using these kind of like wide angle, like in your face close-ups it does contribute to telling that type of story, and it is faithful to what the stage production is supposed to be like. I think that's interesting as well because Matthew Labaticu, I could be wrong on that surname, he's the cinematographer for Darren Aronofsky's films. When they made Mother, they pretty much took a similar aesthetic to Danny Cohen for Les Mis, where in Mother it's supposed to feel oppressive and confrontational, so the camera's always in the actor's faces at all times, and yes, it might not look pleasant, but it does contribute to telling that story, or at least inferring to what the characters are thinking. A specific film example is Tyrannosaur. That was, I think, Eric Wilson is cinematographer for that. He did like Paddington 2, I think, recently as well. It uses lighting and color to kind of and a lot of shadow as well to kind of like imply what's going on in the state of the character's head, because it's a movie about anger and loneliness, especially in those kind of lower deprived areas of England. What do you think of the Hollywood industry making the role of the director less and less? I didn't know people perceive this as a thing. I mean, I've never noticed it, but I for one view filmmaking purely as a collaborative effort. I am totally anti-auteur. I don't believe that we should reinforce this whole arrogant belief that the director is the sole component of the entire movie, right? They are the heart of it, but the cast and crew are also the soul. If you're referring to the way Star Wars is being handled, however, with all the sacking of directors, this is just common internal politics. You see it all the time. Producers and stakeholders want to retain their full control of their investment, so they want to hire subordinate filmmakers who aren't going to go off the rails on them. Simple as that. That's why they hire loads of indie directors to make big blockbusters, because they're like, yeah, they're artistic, but they're not going to challenge us because we gave them a big opportunity. I'm just going to loop these two questions together. They basically ask, what is your favorite film to relax to and not analyze deeply? At the same time, do I ever find it difficult not to analyze a film that I'm watching? I never critique and watch at the same time. It's stupid to think you can do that, right? If you are so critically conscious of the film that you're watching, you are fundamentally doing a disservice to the film. You cannot enjoy it. I go to press screenings and see people pull out their pens and paper and start writing notes while they're watching the movie, and what they're effectively doing is taking themselves completely out of the film and not viewing it as it's intended to be experienced. It's stupid. But if we're talking about dumb, fun, relaxing time, Starship Troopers. I know it's got heavy political allegories, but at the heart of it all, isn't it really just a movie focused on photogenic, cocky hipsters fighting fuck-off massive bugs? And with that, I think we'll end it there. If I didn't answer your question, it's probably because I answered it in a previous video, or I plan on covering it in the future in another video of some sort. Or maybe I'm just too proud to admit that I didn't understand your question. Who knows? But with that, until next week, follow me on Twitter to keep up to date with things that are going on, especially for the podcast. And if you want to help improve the show, you could always support me on Patreon, but free will and stuff. Bye.